Hi, good morning. I'm Dana Peterson Moore. I'm the city's Chief Equity Officer and the Director of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. Today, October 31st, is the 29th Annual Civil Rights Breakfast. And we are here to celebrate civil rights, holding the line, advancing on equity, preserving the civil rights that we have now. And we've got a full room. Let's give a big round of applause for all of us being here. For those of you that are timekeepers, it is 9:23. We are 23 minutes beyond start. But here's the good news. We are here. We are here. We got our tops on. And as the table over back there in the back said, we got our bottoms on. Our shoes match. We're ready to rock and roll. Welcome to the Office of Equity and Civil Rights 29th Annual Civil Rights Breakfast. And this really is the City of Baltimore's celebration, and we cannot be happier that you chose to start your day with us, and your week with us. Good morning, good morning. We are, we've got a full room, and I want to tell you, those of you who know me know that I can get a little anxious sometimes. And about 3 weeks before today, I thought, you know what, I think we should just cancel this breakfast because nobody's gonna come. People are still struggling with COVID. Let's just wait till next year. But look, here you are, looking beautiful, I might say. So thank you. It's really exciting to see everyone. We've had to make some changes in our program, and ordinarily, I would be absolutely beside myself that we've had to make shifts, but then I remembered something. All the plans that I had for March 2020 and April 2020, you know what happened to them? Just like you, out the window. We had to pivot, we had to shift. So our plans for today have shifted a little bit. Some of you might be expecting Dr. Kay Whitehead to be here, and she's my sister, she's my walking partner, our coach is here. We were all keyed up, Chauncey Whitehead. If you follow me on social media, you also follow Chauncey Whitehead because we post every Sunday. Welcome, Chauncey. She and her husband, and we want to extend them traveling mercies. They are en route, maybe have landed already in Israel and Jordan. And when she let me know that she needed to make this trip, I will never, ever, ever stand in the way between someone's spiritual mission. So we had to pivot. And I decided to call, my father always said to me as I was growing up, if you get in trouble, call a Marine. He was a Marine. He is a Marine. He's no longer with us, but he's still a Marine. So I thought, all right, I got to call a Marine. So you know who I called? I don't know if she's in the room. I called Tisha Edwards. Tisha is just one of the toughest women. And I asked if she could help me persuade Wes Moore to be our keynote speaker. And so he said yes. So he will be with us. Very excited, and you guys are in for a treat. I also reached out to the city's front line, those who've been really guarding and protecting and advancing civil rights in the city of Baltimore consistently for a long time. And I reached out to the former mayors, and they are here. They are here. Sheila Dixon is here. Thank you for being here, Mayor Dixon. Martin O'Malley is here. I saw him, Martin. Thank you for being here and not hanging up on me. Kurt Schmoke is not here, he's traveling. Kathy Pugh is here. If she's not in the room, she's on her way. Thank you. Jack Young is on his way. If he's not here in the room, he's on his way. And thank you, Jack Young, for being here. And you all know, we had this little thing called ransomware. So there was a lot that we had to deal with, and Mayor Scott is absolutely on his way, and he's going to bring you greetings. So we're in for a great treat. Thank you again for being here. I want to bring up Karan Watkins, who's going to talk with us about the occasion. Then we'll bless the food and move on to our program. So come on up, Karan.
Good morning, all these beautiful, lovely faces, so many friends. old and new. So I'm just talking about the occasion. We are here. The theme of this week is holding the line, preserving civil rights and advancing equity. So throughout this week, today, and throughout this week, we're here to reflect. We're here to connect. We're here to collaborate, to celebrate, and to organize and to strategize on how together we can forge a way to preserve all that has already been done while also moving the agenda forward. And so throughout this week, we have the Community Relations Commission, the Civilian Review Board, the Police Accountability Division, the Wage Division, the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, the Women's Commission, and the Equity Division. We're partnering with the Mayor's Office on LGBTQ affairs as well, and we have programming lined up. You'll see them on these screens, so please, and it's also in the program, please take notes, be there. Everything is free except for today. And we just we're gonna be just talking about advancing the agenda. We are preserving civil rights and we're advancing equity in Baltimore City. Mayor Scott is the equity mayor. This is something that he's been doing since he was a councilman. This is something that is a priority for this city at this time. And we know, after what we've gone through over the past 2.5, almost 3 years, that equity is so important. Civil rights are so important. So many people were so impacted by what we have all gone through. And so this time for us to come together and to just work together to forge a way to see a day of that we are all, everything is accessible to all, that we all have equitable and we all experience equality. This is what we're doing this week. So I am so happy that you all are here, and that's the occasion. Thank you.
I made a mistake. I forgot to introduce Karan. Karan has been working with us as our Assistant Chief Equity Officer, and last week I promoted her to Deputy Chief Equity Officer. So this is a great day. Thank you. Thank you. I'd now like to bring up the Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, Esquire. He is, in addition to all of those other titles, he's the chairman of the Community Relations Commission, and he will deliver the invocation and bless our food.
Good morning. We're going to try this again. Good morning. A couple of things to calm you. I am just going to pray. A crowd, a lectern, and microphones typically cause me to kind of shift my focus. So there are no sermons, but I do want to invite you to greet those who are sitting at your table. It's been a while since we've been able to share in venues such as this. Can you just speak to those who are around you and just simply say, good morning, I see you. Now that we have greeted one another, let me invite you to join me as we would center ourselves and give ourselves permission to focus on the power of this moment and the opportunity that we've been given to join in collaboration in bettering not only Baltimore City, but the world. Even as we are gathering this morning, there's conflict, there's despair. Here we are at Morgan State University. There are oral arguments this morning before the Supreme Court of the United States, which will go to the core of what we have known for well over a generation as affirmative action. And so this convening is more than just a meal. It's a time to see one another, to commit to one another, and to partner to do the important work at this time. With every head bowed and every eye closed, let us pray. To you for whom words are inadequate, the names we call incomplete. We gather as a diverse community of those who are committed to a singular theme: human dignity is a human right. We gather with sincere hearts and pure motives, a genuine commitment to the betterment of this city and the people who live, work, worship, and play here. We gather bringing the best of who we are, our ideas and ideals, to affirm this truth. So we meet at table on a level plane. We sit at tables of fellowship and friendship, and we commit ourselves to the call and the cause of justice. As we gather, we fellowship with food and conversation and laughter and dreams. So bless our gathering and our dreams this day. And as we share in this meal, bless this food, bless those whose hands have prepared it, bless those who we have a privilege that they serve us. Most of all, help us to remember that in our commitment to justice, there are those who have no table, who have no seat, who have no meal, but they still have dreams. In the mystery of this moment, in the awesomeness of all that you are that is beyond human words, we simply say thank you and amen.
Before I bring John Wesley up to lead us in Lift Every Voice and Sing, I want to also add that Stephanie Rawlings Blake, if she's not in the room yet, she's on her way, another one of our former mayors. I also want to just take just a second and thank our sponsors. We wouldn't be here without our sponsors. Wells Fargo Foundation has contributed $25,000 to the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. That is the largest contribution that our office has ever received. And just a deep personal thanks to Otis Rowley for making that happen. And I take that as a clarion call to keep going, keep doing the work, and to keep bringing on more partners. So thank you, Wells Fargo Foundation. We also received a $15,000 grant or donation from the Building Trades, and they are here. They are our VIP sponsor, and that too is just a significant contribution that lets us know we're on the right track. We're doing, thank you. People don't give where their values aren't represented, and these contributions let the Office of Equity and Civil Rights know that we're doing okay, and we got more work to do. We also received very generous contributions from Baltimore Development Corporation. I know that they have a table, they're here in the room. Thank you, BDC. And the Annie Casey Foundation is here. I saw, I know they're here somewhere. Thank you for believing in us and making sure that we do what we need to do. As she's coming in, former Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake trying to sneak in. Thank you. And I just want to share just a little tidbit. When we reached out to the Annie Casey Foundation, Talib Horn said, "What are you doing for kids? What's your youth program?" And it was a real alert. You know, we need to do better. We are going to do that. We're looking for partners to help us, and Talib, thank you for lifting that up to our awareness. We have some, we can do a lot more, because that's our future. Carpenter Contractor Trust has made a very generous donation. The IBEW Local 24 also supporting us, and Rachel Graham is here from the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. Thank you, Rachel. They are really providing a lot of in-kind support when we started looking for places to hold our events, it was very obvious that the Reginald F. Lewis Museum was a must in terms of partnering with us, and we appreciate you for making that happen. Thank you. With that, are we ready to share together? Lift every voice and sing. And for this, just ask everyone to please stand. This is the Black National Anthem, and my colleague John Wesley will lead us. Thank you. Come on up.
Thank you. Never have these words been more important than they are today. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven rings, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter. Out from the gloomy past, may we forever stand where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. Thank you.
So what I'd like to do now is just a little bit of a pivot, and I'd like to do two of our Impact Awards, and then we'll move to the mayor's comments and then Wes Moore's keynote. But first, need Dr. Kim Moffitt to come on up. Only because we're going to be I'm presenting the Impact Award to Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. And the song that we just sang, as we're singing it, I'm actually thinking about Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. You all know that he's the longtime president of the University of Maryland for Baltimore County. And he can't be here today because he too is traveling. I wonder where everybody's going. But Dr. Moffitt agreed to receive the Impact Award for Dr. Dr. Hrabowski. Kim Moffitt is the dean. She's the new dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences at UMBC. Yes. And we're also giving an award to Jackie Hrabowski. Some of you might know her as Freeman's wife. I know her as a trailblazer. As an amazing, yes, absolutely, an amazingly brilliant woman, and we thought of giving her the recognition because of her huge impact that she's had for decades in the area of philanthropy and making sure that the substantial dollars that are here in Baltimore are moved from those that have to those that need. And she has done that her whole life, and she's had a huge impact on Baltimore as a result of that. So yes, thank you. She too is not here, they're traveling. When I looked into Jackie's background, I found that it's not just the philanthropy. She and Freeman both were some of the founding contributors to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And the impact of that award is huge. We all are learning about our history, our culture, our background, and our future because of the work of that museum. The other thing that I want to lift up and just remind everyone, this time, 2 years ago, in March of 2020, we were all very concerned about the COVID pandemic and whether or not there would ever be a vaccine, and who would get the vaccine, how would it be distributed equitably, would it arrive in time? And I watched as Dr. Freeman Hrabowski and Mrs. Jackie Hrabowski volunteered, very brave for them to do this. They volunteered to be part of the testing of a COVID vaccine. And it's that vaccine that ultimately was developed, and it has saved so many lives. And so many, the reason we're here now is because there's a vaccine. So we wanted to, And they didn't stop there. They became part of the state of Maryland's Go Vax program and made sure that those of us who were resistant, I wasn't one of them that was resistant, I tried to get to the front of the line, but I had to wait my turn. But a lot of black and brown people were resistant, were afraid to take the vaccine. And because of Jackie and Freeman, it became obvious that we had to change our ways, how we were making sure that black and brown people received those vaccines, and they led the way on that. And if that weren't enough, it turns out that Dr. Kizzmekia, one of Dr. Freeman Hrabowski's students, was one of the creators of the vaccine. So it's huge. So come on up. Alicia Wilson is receiving the award on behalf of Jackie Hrabowski. So many of you know Alicia. She is the Vice President for Economic Development at Johns Hopkins University, and just a phenomenal, phenomenal woman in her own right as well. So thank you, Alicia, for being here. Thank you, Dr. Moffitt, for being here. So on behalf of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, we present to Dr. Freeman Hrabowski our inaugural Impact Award. On behalf of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, we present to Jackie Hrabowski the office's inaugural Impact Award for all the work that they've done.
Thank you.
You want to say a few words?
Sure. Well, ladies go first, so I will start with accepting this on behalf of Jackie. I met Jackie when I was 17 years old. I was a student at Mervo and wanted to go to UMBC because I had a lunch with her husband, Dr. Hrabowski. And from the moment I met her, I knew that she was a successful woman. But more importantly, I knew that she was living a life of significance. And that's because she cared about young people. I was the inaugural Jackie Hrabowski Scholar in UMBC. And the scholarship was wonderful. The money was wonderful. But her relationship has been even more transformational for me as a woman. Jackie does a lot of work that sometimes gets to be in the spotlight. But her most significant work, I think, is done in the shadows, where she takes young people from our city, those who many have forgotten, and she takes them under her wing, and she cares about them, and she pours into them, and she loves on them. And because of that, so many of us are able to thrive. And so I'm so honored that she's able to receive this award, and thank you for recognizing her and her husband's greatness.
So I've had the opportunity to work with Freeman for the last 16 years, and I say work with because I'm still talking to him almost daily. But there are a few things that I feel like we share together. We are both from the South. He's a little deeper South than I am, but North Carolina counts. Our parents, both of our moms were teachers, so we exchanged a number of stories of what life was like in our childhood, growing up in a house where you had to grab the encyclopedia for everything instead of being able to just have a question answered. But probably the biggest thing that we share in common is that we both talk a lot. So I'm going to be quiet today and just make sure that he gets acknowledged for all that he has done for me personally. I lost both parents over the last 10 years, and almost without fail, he stepped right in and said, "I am now Dad." And I am so grateful for what he has done for me personally, but I also know what he has done for so many of us in this room. I'm also cognizant of his history that many of us are aware of, that civil rights for Freeman started at the age of 12. It probably was in his head even before he was actually arrested during that youth march. But certainly 12 is where we mark that moment where he found himself very much committed and engaged to what was happening to our people, and also interested in education as a whole to uplift us in many ways. And we can see, at least in his 30 years having served as president of UMBC, that would remain very much a part of his own commitment, was centering education and certainly pouring into all of his students. But if you're aware of the Meyerhoff program at UMBC, you know that he poured into students of color. And so I think an award such as this makes perfect sense. The fact that it is the inaugural award also fits who Freeman is, all of his big personality and what he contributes to all of us. And so I am happy to stand here to accept the award for him. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't go. Yeah, don't run away. If we could get the citations from the mayor. And Mayor Scott, any chance you might come on up and present the citations? Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be great.
Good morning, everyone. I know Doc isn't here, so I won't tell any jokes about him that he'll get me back for later on. But I'll read. We have one for both Doc and Mrs. Hrabowski. Certificate of Recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I am pleased to present this certificate to Dr. Freeman Hrabowski, and also, as you know, Jackie Hrabowski, in recognition of your receiving the Baltimore City Office of Equity and Civil Rights 2022 Impact Award for outstanding contributions to preserving civil rights and advancing equity. On behalf of the people of Baltimore, thank you for your priceless service and ongoing efforts to hold the line. Congratulations this day, October 31st, 2022. There we go.
All right, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So the next awards will be presented by my colleague, Lisa Kelly. Lisa is our Chief of Investigations. She is just another one of the phenomenal members of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. We're so glad that she's agreed to serve as our chief. Come on up, Lisa, and she'll be presenting to Jane Miller and Dr. Duraza. So I'm going to pick my seat.
Good morning. Jane Miller has accomplished remarkable investigative reporting throughout her career. Jane joined WBAL TV in 1979 as a general assignment reporter. It was her third job in television, coming to Baltimore from Pittsburgh. Jane broke incredible stories over her 46-year career, including one that was part of a series of stories on judicial accountability and earned a Murrow Award. In 2003, Jane took on one of the country's largest mortgage servicing companies after homeowners complained of excessive and unexplained fees and feared losing their homes. Jane's reporting sparked a federal investigation, and ending with the homeowners finally receiving relief. For this effort, Jane was recognized by the National Association of Consumer Advocates. In 2015, Jane led an investigation into the death of Freddie Gray and never stopped seeking the truth. Her work won her a prestigious DuPont Columbia Award, honoring excellence in broadcast and digital news in 2016. More recently, in 2020, Jane was the first to raise questions about the state's $9 million purchase of coronavirus test kits from a South Korean company. She questioned the cost and the efficacy of the kits. The state eventually admitted that there were problems with the test kits and had them swapped out. This was but a small snippet of Jane's impact to Baltimore. Please help us honor Calamity Jane Miller.
Here, Scott.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled. It's good to see many of you in this room that I haven't seen in a little bit. And some of you have already heard from me, probably saying, "What? I thought you retired." Well, I did retire, kind of retire, but retirement's just a word. So there's so much work to do, isn't there? I really want to thank my former employer, WBAL Television, because I was provided with the time and the resources and the support to do some work to really expose the inequity in our city and in our region, and the enormous divide really in wealth and opportunity. The media has such a role to play if it would only do it. Media spends a lot of time trying to embarrass, play gotcha. I did a little of that in my career too. But it really has a responsibility to enlighten and do the work, really do the work, so that people see what the good that's being done in communities, that people see the need in communities, and people see ways to improve communities. Our Democratic nominee for governor, Wes Moore, is here, and you're going to hear from him. And Wes, I know that many people in this room are very eager for the city of Baltimore to have a friend in Annapolis. Hallelujah. And not someone who, for the past 7 years, has derided city leadership and killed about $5 billion in economic development projects. So the one thing I know from all of the work I've done is that we can change things. And we change things by being intentional about the decisions we make. When you invest in communities with public works projects, with private sector development, it lifts communities. It raises value. Everybody benefits. And we can do that. You can do that in every position you hold and in every role you play. I thank you so much here today. And I will say about what's going on in the Supreme Court, isn't it amazing in 2022 that we're still arguing about the same things. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, as always, for telling the truth. I'm just glad I don't have to answer any questions from you anymore. The City of Baltimore Certificate of Recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I am pleased to present this certificate to Jane Miller in recognition of receiving the Baltimore City Office of Equity and Civil Rights 2022 Impact Award for outstanding contributions to preserving civil rights and advancing equity. On behalf of the people of Baltimore, thank you for your priceless service and ongoing efforts to hold the line. Congratulations on this October 31st, 2022.
Thank you all very much.
Dr. Letitia Jaraza is a board-certified pediatrician and the first African-American female health commissioner of Baltimore City. Dr. Jaraza has focused her service on the community. Her areas of expertise include pediatrics, public health policy, and the social determinants of health, along with creating opportunities for equitable access to health care for all. She began her career providing general pediatric care for mostly military families in Odenton, Maryland. She subsequently returned to Baltimore to work as medical director of quality and social and school-based health care for Baltimore Medical System. Just prior to joining the health department, she served as the Health Innovation Officer for Fearless Solutions, a Baltimore-based digital services firm. She currently serves on the boards of Healthcare Access Maryland, Behavioral Health Systems Baltimore, and the West Baltimore Renaissance Foundation. She was appointed Health Commissioner in March of 2019. She subsequently began leading us through the global pandemic in March of 2020, just a year into her tenure. We have been most fortunate to have her leadership during this time. From January 2020 to June 2021, Baltimore City fared better than most comparable jurisdictions in terms of incident rate, mortality rate, and vaccinations in the population over the age of 12. Dr. Jaraza is my doctor. Dr. Jaraza is your doctor. Dr. Jaraza is the city's doctor. Please help us honor Dr. Letitia Jaraza.
Good morning, everybody. It is truly an honor to be here, to even be considered in the same category as Jane Miller and Dr. and Mrs. Hrabowski. I was a UMBC Meyerhoff, so that is a big deal to me, and I'm truly, truly humbled. I have with me today my civil rights hero. So my mother is here as my +1. She doesn't want to wave, but she'll wave. Thank you. You see, my mom was actually born and raised in the segregated South. She was a teenager when Martin Luther King was shot in Memphis, Tennessee, her hometown. She would subsequently come to the DC area to attend Howard University for graduate school, and I can only imagine how challenging and just frankly traumatizing it was to grow up in the Jim Crow era. And so what she did is she constantly pushed me. She knew that education was a ticket out, and she knew that it also allowed you to help others, to reach back. and support others. And so I thank her as my civil rights hero for that pushing. That's why I'm standing here today. And so I really accept this award on her behalf. It is my honor to have served the city so far, and I will continue to do so. And I thank her for all that she sacrificed so that I can be here today. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations, Dr. D, and thank you. For those who don't know, if y'all see this big look of shock on my face, it's because Dr. D doesn't have some custom tennis shoes on right now. I can't believe it. But Dr. D, thank you for all you've done for all of us throughout COVID, for making my job easy. I just had to say yes to whatever you were saying what I should do. It's the truth. It might have made people mad, but I think what we know we did was save a lot of lives, and that's the most important thing. And as you also know, thank you for allowing me to take some days off. Whenever I needed a day off, Dr. D was the person that told them I need to go home. Certificate of recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I am pleased to present this certificate to Dr. Leticia Jaraza in recognition of your receiving the Baltimore City Office of Equity and Civil Rights 2022 Impact Award for outstanding contributions to preserving civil rights and advancing equity. On behalf of the people of Baltimore, thank you for your priceless service and ongoing efforts to hold the line. Congratulations on this October 31st, 2022.
So where's the mayor? Don't go too far. Every time I've been anywhere and we've tried to introduce the mayor, he says, I don't need an introduction. And today he really doesn't. He's already been talking. You guys know him. Let me bring him on up. Our mayor, our equity mayor, Brandon M. Scott.
Good morning. Thank you, Dana. That's the best introduction ever. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the start of Civil Rights Week 2022. I first want to commend the Office of Equity and Civil Rights Director, Dana Moore, for the wonderful work that her and the entire team are doing throughout the city of Baltimore to advance civil rights and equity. We made it a point to add the word equity to this office because rights only matter if they are equitable and accessible for all. So thank you, Director Moore and team, for your innovative and inclusive leadership. I also want to welcome, I know you had to step out for a second, our keynote speaker today, Wes Moore, our future governor, a person that I know in my heart will be an excellent partner in seeing that Baltimore and its people get the resources and support needed to reach and exceed our outstanding potential. And I also want to congratulate again all of our honorees, Jane Miller, Dr. D, Dr. and Mrs. Habrowski, for all of what they have done for Baltimore. Even though Jane isn't really retired, we know you are missed within the press corps in Baltimore City. Dr. D, as I said, I can't say enough about your leadership each and every day to make sure that Baltimoreans are healthy, especially through this pandemic. And to the Habrowskis, we know how much their advocacy for equity and education and dedication, the fights for civil rights has meant not just to Baltimore, but also to the world. And even though Doc is still a little upset that I didn't follow Alicia to UMBC, he still loves me like a son. Undoubtedly, when one thinks of civil rights, most people automatically, when you say the word civil rights, people think about Dr. King. But for me, I think about Malcolm X. And I think specifically about this quote: I'm for the truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it is for or against. I'm a human being first and foremost, and as such, I'm for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole. I believe that that quote is fitting for each and every one of our honorees that we honor today. These four individuals, through pursuing careers and personal passions, have absolutely provided service and support to countless people in Baltimore and beyond, whether it's through investigative journalism that unearth injustices or the implementation of policies and programming that eradicated healthcare inequities, or if it was the development of educational programming and scholarships that leveled the playing field for students who come from communities that have traditionally been left behind when it comes to pursuing higher education. The work of today's honorees have created impact that has positively impacted the lives of individuals and families that are countless. And your work has not only created positive and lasting change, but has placed people in positions to not just advance themselves personally and professionally, but allow them to be able to advance others as well. Simply put, your decisions to use your platform or position to help others has created opportunities for those beneficiaries of your work to pay it forward to other people. And for that, I am extremely grateful and offer my deepest and sincerest appreciation. But we know that the fight for civil rights and equity is far from over. The truth is that it's really just beginning all over again. You have nothing else to do but turn on the nightly news or your radio or go on social media to see that civil rights are under attack. Equity is under attack. There are certain people, when I say the word equity, their head literally explodes every time I say it. They want us to go back to a day where women, people of color, poor people don't have the same rights. They don't want us to get to a point in this country that we've never been to before, where everyone has the accessibility and equity to achieve and become the best version of themselves. And the only way, as I said on Saturday, that we will beat back this vile, distasteful, hateful, racist, sexist-filled movement that is afoot in this country is that if we all show up each and every day, if we all put every other difference that we have aside, if we all think about something greater than ourselves as the folks that came before us did each and every breath they took, that's the only way. We know how big of a fight this is. We know it includes billionaires and media companies and folks in government who don't know that climate change is real and believe that if they have to use solar energy, they're going to have to go to sleep before the sun comes down. That's what we're fighting against. So every day when you go home, when you go into your community, when you show up in your workplace, know that you have to be a beacon of light to push that darkness back to where it belongs. So thank you all for having me today. Thank you for being here today. But know that there's so much work ahead for each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for always giving us our charge and our direction and making sure that we're on track and on point. Out of the side of my eye, I saw someone coming into the room, and I just want to lift her up for just a moment. Her name is Jill. Her last name is Carter. Her honorific is senator, but I know her in so many ways as my sister in the law. We started practicing law at a time when there weren't a whole lot of us black women trying to do the right thing in the law, and I just wanted to say thank you. But she also preceded me as the director of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, and really got the office charged up and really had the office focused on civil rights. And her father is one of my husband's heroes, Walter P. Carter. And so, thank you, Jill, for your life commitment, your lifelong commitment to civil rights. And I mentioned my husband, he's here. Thank you, Ralph, for being here. You know, we often talk about, you know, who's holding down the fort while you're out there circling the world, and for me, it's Ralph. So thank you for everything that you have always done to support all my crazy ideas. Thank you. So I want to talk about the other Mr. Moore. When I was preparing for today, someone said, just stick to the script, just go to the bio, just tell them about what they already know. And if you know me, I don't do that. So hold on. I want to tell you about the other Mr. Moore. We are not related, but we could be. Yeah, this is a fact. But we have a lot in common, and here it is. He lives in Guilford. Ralph and I live on Guilford Avenue, not too far. He went to school in Virginia at the Academy. I went to Washington and Lee Law School. There's a parallel. Wes is married to Dawn. Ralph is married to Dana. Do you see the parallels? So close, so close. I'm from a military family. My dad was in the Marine Corps. Wes was in the Army. And I told you already that my father always said, when you get in trouble, call a Marine. So I called Tisha. And Tisha brought you to us. Both of you are tall, Ralph and Wes, both tall men with a little short on the hair. Was I not supposed to say that? Okay. But the parallel that I am most jazzed about and that I want everyone here to know about is both of you have this very strong commitment to children, to youth, to education, and to making sure that our kids get what they need to succeed. And that's what draws me to you. You don't know this. You never know who's watching, but I've watched you for so many years. When you were meeting in Charles Village with Diane Bell McCoy at Donna's, I'd be like, oh, that's Wes Moore, that's Diane. They got to be talking about something big. And it was, you did. We are just very happy to have you here, happy for your life's work, happy that you have really committed yourself to youth and to children, but mostly I'm so happy that you said yes to our invitation. Please come on up.
Good morning. I am humbled, excited, and honored to be here. Director Moore, cousin. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction, cousin. I appreciate you. But most importantly, I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate you continue to push forward and helping us to remind our society that we can and we must be better, because we need it. You know, one thing, and everything you said was absolutely right. I'm a very proud Army man. I am short on the hair. I actually started cutting my hair when I was first sent to military school. When I was at that time 13 years old, and I kind of liked it. I liked the cut. Eventually, when my hair stopped coming back, I was like, it's all good. I've had good practice at it. And but I said one thing I will say: the military school was actually in Pennsylvania, and not Virginia. So I just want to make sure I correct that, because I know that's a thing. If you don't correct things immediately, that becomes a thing. But it really is an honor. It's an honor to be with you, and I'm thankful to be in a community and a society that has basked under the leadership that you have provided, and this office has provided. So bless you and thank you. You know, I have to tell you, I'm also incredibly humbled to be here with these honorees. Whether we're talking about Jane Miller, who has led so brilliantly and valiantly for so many years, both making sure that, yes, that the things that had to expose were exposed, and the things that we needed to shed light to, that you shed light to them. And making sure that we never lost focus on keeping the main thing in our city. And we are better because of it. And so congratulations and bless you for your leadership and everything you continue to do for the city and for the city and beyond. To be here with Dr. DeRosa, you know, I couldn't think of a better description saying that's our doctor. Because we all take pride in you. We all take pride in you. And, you know, I always say, you never learn anything about anybody in times of comfort. In times of comfort, you can show me anything. I want to see you when it gets tough. I want to see you when it's hard. I want to see you when the heat gets turned up. Anything you ever need to learn about anybody, watch them in times of difficulty. And then you're showing me who they are. And over these past years, you have shown us who you are. And not only are we here because of it, we're stronger, we are healthier, and we're prepared for the future because of it. So bless you and thank you for all you continue to do for us as well. And I know they're not here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't a huge thank you and we love you to Dr. and Mrs. Hrabowski. You know, everybody, I think one of the things, everybody has their Dr. Hrabowski and Mr. Hrabowski story about the time they first met you, that first time that they gave you a text message or a phone call encouraging you, the first time you received one of their patent files, and how your life changes immeasurably because of it. For both of them, they were two of the first people that I reached out to when I was first even considering going through this journey. I remember Dr. Hrabowski saying, "What in the hell are you thinking about that for?" Every single time I've gone to both of those two, I leave enriched, I leave better, I leave more thoughtful, because we truly have had the pleasure of having two national gems in our midst. And so to Dr. and Mrs. Hrabowski, congratulations and bless you as well. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that we are here in the midst of people who made it their mission to get into the arena when it was hard. And so if I could actually ask for all of our, I know our current mayor was here, and we are thankful for the leadership that he is providing every single day right now. But if also I could ask our former mayors to please stand. Mayor Dixon, Mayor Rollins Blake, Mayor O'Malley. I know, I think Mayor Schmoke is on his way in earlier. Mayor Young, and Mayor Scott now, and I'm not sure if Mayor Pugh is here. I can't overstate to everybody the difficulty of the shoes that you all had to walk in. This is one of the most complex jobs on this planet. This is an incredibly difficult job where we understand and you understand every single day the immediacy and the importance of the decisions that you make. Every single day you make decisions that you know on a good day, 55% of people agree with it. That no matter what the decision is, there are going to be certain people who are going to disagree with it because you made the decision. That facts don't matter. And you know what you did? You got up the next morning, you made more decisions. And you did it because the people of Baltimore asked and required of it, and you did it because you have a love of this city that is almost difficult to comprehend when you consider the compromise and sacrifice you had to make to serve it. And so to each and every one of you, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because you did what most of us did not. You experienced and understood where most of us could not experience. And you did it because this is a city of beautiful people who you love. And so thank you. And I also want to give a special shout out to one of your colleagues, and that's Mayor Schmoke. You know, I first had a relationship with Mayor Schmoke when I was just a teenager. And frankly, when I first got a chance to meet Mayor Schmoke, that was a time that for the first time in my life, I finally started feeling some stability. Where my entire life and much of my childhood was littered with traumas. Littered with traumas for the fact that I was almost 4 years old when I watched my father die in front of me because he didn't get the help he needed. Littered with traumas where when my mother, who then became an immigrant single mom who was going to raise 3 children on her own, called up her parents, my grandparents, because she was seeking refuge and seeking supports. And she struggled. And so she called up my grandparents. My grandfather was a minister in the South Bronx. My grandmother was a school teacher in the South Bronx. And their house was barely big enough for them. They figured out a way to make it big enough for all of us. And so we moved into an area and we moved into a neighborhood that frankly was dealing with so many of the challenges that you saw in many urban areas in the 80s and 90s, where for the first time that I had handcuffs on my wrist was when I was 11 years old. The first time my mother got a job that gave her benefits was when I was 14. The first time she got a job that gave her reliable hours, the first time that she got a job that allowed her to work one job instead of multiple jobs. And let's be clear, this is a woman with a master's degree. So when we're having conversations about inequitable pay between men and women and inequitable pay between people of color and non, this is not an academic exercise to me. I don't need a white paper to explain it. I've seen this. And finally, and by the way, in that job that she got was a job here in Baltimore at the Annie Casey Foundation. The job that gave her refuge. And for the time that I finally started feeling a sense of stability, I was sent away when I was 14 years old. I got sent to a military school, long story, it was by choice. But by the time I started finally feeling a sense of stability, I got an offer for an internship with Mayor Kurt Schmoke. And Mayor Kurt Schmoke, sometimes, as interns, like, oh, did you go get coffee? And yes, I got coffee. But there was a beauty in the opportunity that he provided, that he truly opened up an understanding for how government works and why it's so important. Where I found in him and so many other members, senior members of the team, that here is this teenager that they're actually asking my ideas on policies. And it was also throughout that internship that I also got an understanding, this was the first time, and I remember, and there's actually not oftentimes do some of the most important moments in your life get caught on camera. At least you'd hope not. But one of the most important moments of my life actually did when I was actually finishing my second internship with the mayor, and I was in his office, and he called me over and he talked to me about next steps, and then he asked me, he said, have you ever heard of the Rhodes Scholarship? And I told him I'd heard of it. And he brings me over to his wall and he starts pointing to a picture on his wall. The picture that he's pointing to on his wall is a picture of his Rhodes class. That picture, the City Hall photographer actually caught that picture and caught this image of Mayor Schmoke with a full head of hair, me with a full head of hair, and he's pointing to a picture on the wall. That picture now sits on the wall of my office. A picture of Mayor Schmoke telling me about the Rhodes Scholarship. Because that was also the moment that he told me, I want you to apply for this. And I did. And the rest is history. He showed me a world that wasn't just directly in front of me. He showed me and he helped me to understand that there was never going to be a room ever again that I did not belong in. That every room that I was ever in or anything that I would ever attain in my life, I was not there because of someone's kindness. I was not there because of someone's benevolence. I was not there because of someone's social experiment. I was not there because someone wanted to sprinkle diversity into the room. I was not there because someone wanted to make history. I was there because I belonged there. And I was there because that room would be incomplete if I wasn't. He, in essence, taught me what it meant to be free. And in that moment, what he also taught me was the importance of policy. And why having this conversation around policy during Civil Rights Week is so important, because we have to understand that everything we see in our society is a policy decision. Everything. From the air that we breathe, to the water we drink, to the homes that we live in, to the transportation assets we have or don't have, to the way we are policed. It is a policy decision. And so to understand the type of ruptures that we have had historically in our society, we cannot understand that without understanding the intentionality of it. That in order for us to address a structural breakdown, we must address it with a structural build-up. We must actually rethink the way the policy works for people. We must rethink the way the policy works in our individual lives and in our individual communities. We must rethink what it means to have a sense of partnership in this work. And Jane, I'm really glad you brought up this point, because it should not and it cannot be lost on anybody that these things, there's a measure of intentionality, and who sits in these seats matters. That we have to rethink an entire relationship that we have as a Baltimore region and the rest of this state. When I say around the state, and again, we are going around the state, all 24 jurisdictions, and each and every one of them know you will have my ear and you will have. And I explain to people the reason that we are going to everywhere around the state, and people say, you're spending a whole lot of time in the Eastern Shore and a whole lot of time in Western Maryland, a whole lot of time in Cecil and Harford County, a whole lot of time in Southern Maryland. My answer is get used to it. Get used to it, because that's how I plan on governing. But I want to be very clear that all 24 are going to have my ear, all 24 are going to have my heart. But you cannot have a thriving Maryland if you do not have a thriving Baltimore. And I don't say that because I'm a Baltimorean, right? I don't say it because I'm a homer. Of course you'd say that. No, I say it because I'm math. Explain to me a single state in this country that is clicking on all cylinders, and the state's largest city is not. I'll wait. And I've done the research. The answer is it doesn't exist. If you look at what's happened, for example, within Detroit over the economic renaissance that has happened in Detroit over the past 12 years, do you know who the greatest beneficiary of that has been? Michigan. Michigan has actually outpaced other states in terms of economic growth and economic development because it is Detroit that has helped to lead that pace. If you look at Atlanta, and what has happened in Atlanta over the past 30 years. Atlanta went from being a small, sleepy suburban town to literally right now, Atlanta is rivaling Hollywood as the entertainment capital of this country. Do you know who the greatest beneficiary of that has been? Georgia. Pittsburgh right now is on fire. Pittsburgh's growing in population, Pittsburgh's growing in GDP and economic growth. Right now, Google has literally just moved its entire autonomous vehicle fleet to Pittsburgh, because they're leveraging Carnegie Mellon and because they're leveraging Pitt. And who has been the biggest beneficiary of that? Pennsylvania. You cannot have a thriving state if the state's largest city is not thriving. And we have to understand that what that means is when we're talking about partnership, we mean partnership in every sense of the word. And that partnership is not waving your finger at us and telling us to be better. That's not partnership. That in every angle of partnership, whether we're talking about public safety and working in partnership with local jurisdictions, working to ensure that yes, and I see Commissioner Harrison, bless you, and thank you for your leadership, sir. And it's great to see you this morning. Working to ensure that we are going to have a policing force that moves with appropriate intensity and absolute integrity and full accountability. And that those comments do not have to be mutually exclusive, or are they decision points? That we have to do them all. It means that understanding if you really want to get and you want to address the issue of getting and keeping violent offenders off of our streets, it means we actually have to have a Department of Parole and Probation that actually works. Which, by the way, there is no local jurisdiction that's in charge of that. That is a state function. It means understanding the public safety we have in our society. There is no way we are going to arrest nor militarize our way out of that. It means that all of our children do deserve a 21st century education system, and not just those who can afford it or those who happen to be fortunate enough to be born into a zip code where they have access to it. And that means we have to invest. Invest to make sure that children are not getting let out at noon when it's either 90 degrees or 15 degrees because we don't have buildings that can accommodate it. Invest to make sure that our children are actually going to school in buildings and our educators are teaching in buildings where they can actually drink from the water fountains. Because we have known lead is a neurotoxin in this country for a century. We've just been remarkably color and class coded in the way that we have dealt with it. That we know that we need transportation assets that can move people from where they live to where they work. I led one of the largest poverty-fighting organizations in this country. We invested tens of millions of dollars in some of the best job training and job reskilling programs in America. Some of them here in Baltimore. And do you know one of the biggest takeaways I have from that experience? It's this: you can invest in that all you want. But if a person can't get to the job, then what's the point? That we have to think about what it really means to create a society where we know that every single asset is being used to support our kids. You know, at this time of Civil Rights Week and a celebration of Civil Rights Week, and by the way, I do want to be clear, while I love and respect and honor the idea of a Civil Rights Week, what we really need is a civil rights lens. We need a civil rights lens in the way we think about our work. Are we being fair? Being just? Are we honoring those who came before us, and are we remembering those who will come after us? What's the lens in the way we think about this work? And I can tell you, now that we are now 7 days in a wake-up from Election Day, I can't help but think a lot about my grandfather. Where my grandfather was the first one on my mom's side of the family born in this country. And when he was just a toddler, his father, my great-grandfather, was a minister. And he was a vocal minister. He was one of these ministers that didn't just teach the Word of God, but he reminded people on earth that they needed to. And eventually he started getting threats. And eventually those threats turned into physical threats. And in the middle, grandfather, who at that time was just a toddler. And he left. And he left because the Ku Klux Klan ran him out. And much of my family always said that they would not come back to this country. And much of my family did not. But my grandfather, in all of his humility, he always said, this country will be incomplete without me. So he came back to the US. He went to an HBCU. He eventually became a minister like his father. He eventually became the first black minister in the history of the Dutch Reformed Church. And interestingly enough, when he became, not everybody was happy. And the same threats that started coming to his grandfather, started coming to his father, started coming to him. And he's stuck. He said, nobody has the right to take my Americanness, my patriotism, or my love of community away from me, and he's stuck. And I always say that this is a man who, he transitioned when he was 87 years old. He transitioned while I was in Afghanistan. He had a deep Jamaican accent his entire life, deep Jamaican accent, and was maybe the most patriotic American I've ever met. He loved this country. And I think about him because there was this idea that he always talked about, this idea of the race. And there's a sermon he always spoke about how you had Moses, who had led his people, led the Israelites for 40 years, and led them through storms and trials. And finally, when they get to the Red Sea and see how the sea parts, how that was his glory, that was his joy, that was his moment. And he died. And then it was Joshua who was actually the one to lead the Israelites through the parted sea. And my grandfather would always talk about this idea of saying how he's sure Moses felt a type of way about that. Because he's just like, I did all the work. I devoted my life to this. The last 40 years of my existence, I led my people, and now that we're making it to the glory, now we're finally making it to the place that I'm now getting tapped out. And this young guy, Joshua, is now being asked to lead the rest of the way. And how he always talked about how what he believed that God was saying to Moses at that moment was, job well done. You've done your job. You understood the assignment. What I'm now asking is for Joshua to understand his. What I'm now asking is for Joshua, now that the baton is in his hand, to run hard the way that you did. You know, we talk about this idea of civil rights, and you know, someone mentioned to me earlier how you know, this would be making history. But I'm reminded what my grandfather always told me. He said, that's not the point. Was not. The assignment is not to make history. The assignment, if we're talking about the true journey of civil rights, is that if we have a unique opportunity to work together and to make child poverty history, that's the assignment. That if we have the opportunity to make the racial wealth gap history, that's the assignment. If we have the opportunity to make environmental injustice history, that's the assignment. If we have the opportunity to make health disparities history, that's the assignment. If we have the opportunity to make educational and economic disparities history, that's the assignment. Don't forget the assignment. And so in this time, I'm honored to be with you today during Civil Rights Week. And the challenge that I offer to each and every one of us, myself included, is how do we turn this into a civil rights lens? How do we alter the way we think so that we actually can create a society that our ancestors hoped for and fought for and that our children deserve? Because if we do that, then we understood the assignment. God bless you all, and thank you so much for having me here this morning. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
We understand the assignment. We're going to make it the civil rights lens. We are now going to call you for breakfast. It is served.
Well, the importance of the Civil Rights Breakfast is exactly what it is, to go through about the civil rights, bring honorees in, honor those who have been helping us throughout our Black lives, through our communities and things of that nature, and to discuss about our past and the struggles and things which we've had to be able to overcome.
So we just got a few more things that we're going to do. We appreciate everybody for sticking around. Hope that the breakfast was good. Hope that you feel full and refreshed. We're just going to recognize a few people, first and foremost, and then we're going to bring up our VIP sponsor to address the crowd very briefly. So I'm going to bring up right now Ms. Araceli Stafford, who is our wage enforcement supervisor, to introduce the sponsor of the evening. Thank you.
Buenos dias. Good morning. I have the honor of introducing the VIP sponsor for this year's Civil Rights Week, the Baltimore DC Metro Building Trades Council, and here to represent them is the Baltimore director, Mr. Jermaine Jones.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. First off, I just want to say thank you to the Office of Equity and Civil Rights for all the hard work you do every year, and congratulations to all the awardees this year. And also thank you to whoever decided to allow me to speak after breakfast is served, because the last thing I want to do is address people while they're hangry. First off, many of you may ask why would, well, first off, I'm with the Baltimore DC Building Trades. We're the umbrella organization for construction unions, representing carpenters, electricians, plumbers, all the different ones. Yeah, let's give a round of applause. Representing the men and women who build our roads and bridges and buildings every day. But many of you may ask, why would a construction union sponsor, Civil Rights Week? And for those who ask that question, I'll leave you with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. He said, our needs are identical with labor's needs. Decent wages, fair working conditions, livable housing, old age security, health and welfare measures, conditions in which our families can grow, have education for their children, and respect in our community. So labor and civil rights have always gone hand in hand and worked hand in hand throughout the years. You can see this throughout history, such as the Memphis sanitation workers strike, and even the March on Washington for jobs and freedom. A lot of people will just think about it as the March on Washington, but the name of it was the March on Washington for jobs and freedom. And so as organized labor, we remain dedicated to work side by side with this office and with every other organization throughout the city who wants to promote civil rights. But I just want to say we have a lot of work to do still. But a lot of work has already been done. But in order to carry this torch, we all got to continue to work together and stay diligent, because we are blessed with the opportunities we have today because of the hard work that people have done in the past. And we can't drop the ball. We got to continue to south turn, advance this ball moving forward, and we're going to continue to be a partner with this office and with Baltimore City when it comes to fighting for wages and equity and making sure every man and woman in this city has an opportunity to be successful, take care of their family, and retire with dignity. So thank you all for the opportunity, and we're blessed to be your sponsor and your partner as we move forward to making Baltimore City one of the greatest cities in this country. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to just take a quick moment to recognize some dignitaries in the room, or who were in the room. I'm going to start with the elected officials who we were blessed to be joined with. First was Senator Corey McCray, whose birthday is today. Look, I'm gonna actually ask y'all to hold your applause because I got a lot of people to talk about real quick. So let's do elected. We're gonna do it in categories, okay? Senator Jill Carter, who is also a former director of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. Councilman Ryan Dorsey was here. Councilwoman Felicia Porter was here. And representing Congressman Mfume's office, Mr. Ray Conway, who is still here. Now you can applaud. The former mayors who were in the room: Governor Martin O'Malley, Mayor Stephanie Rawlins Blake, Mayor Catherine Pugh, and Mayor Sheila Dixon. I want to, let's pause really quickly. First off, I want to thank a lot of the city agencies who sponsored today. But one agency in particular I want to point out, which is the fire department. Many of you may have saw that the fire department lost one of their own yesterday. So if you would join me very quickly in a moment of silence, recognizing EMT and firefighter Mr. Juwan Wilson. Thank you. Now, to some of the civil rights organizations in the room. We appreciate your presence here. I want to start by recognizing Mr. Willie Flowers from the NAACP State Chapter, Mr. Kobe Little from the Baltimore City Chapter of the NAACP, Ms. Monica Cooper from Maryland Justice Project, Mr. Everett Winchester from the United Negro Improvement Association, Mr. Davon Love from Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, Mr. Wesley Hawkins, there he is, from the Nolita Project, Mr. Darren Rogers from I Am Mentality, and also former director of our office, Mr. Alvin Gilliard of the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. Next, I want to recognize our union representation. As you all know, we house wage enforcement. We work closely with them, and we're grateful for their support. Start with IBEW, Local 24, Mr. Rico Albuquerque, did I say it right? Albuquerque, Mr. Jason Asher from the Pipe Trades, Courtney Jenkins, President of the AFL-CIO, Antoinette Johnson from Cub Local 800, Kenya Campbell from AFT Maryland, Tom Killeen from the Sheet Metal Workers, John Barber from the Carpenters, and of course Jermaine Jones from the Building Trades. Two more groups, y'all. We're almost there. Next, the Office of Equity and Civil Rights houses 5, going on 6 different divisions. And of those 6 divisions, there are 5 boards and commissions that we staff. So I'd like to recognize the members of those boards and commissions who volunteer their time to do good work for Baltimore City. First and foremost, the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, the folks from the Wage Commission in the middle, the folks from the Community Relations Commission also in the middle, the folks from the Civilian Review Board, and all of the new nominees that are coming in for the Women's Commission, which is just getting started this year. And last but not least, we're going to recognize the staff that put this work together. And I'm going to ask y'all to stand. If you are a current employee of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, would you please stand and be recognized? These folks work really, really hard, folks, and we are grateful, grateful, grateful for the work that they do, for putting this breakfast together, for putting this week together. And look, the breakfast was just the start. We have a full week of great programming that we hope that you all can attend. And with that being said, I'm going to bring up one of our investigators for the Civilian Review Board, Ms. Jill Muth, who also is the person who designed our website, who's also the person who designed those cards and those programs. She's a jack of all trades. We're going to introduce her to walk us through the schedule for this week, and then we'll wrap up the program. Ms. Jill.
Thank you, everybody. It's so lovely to see everyone here today. We're really, really excited both about the program we have today and the programming we have in store for you for the rest of the week. Yesterday, we had our soft opening with the Halloween party hosted in collaboration with By Peaceful Means and Rebuild Johnston Square and Neighborhood Hero by Nike. We had a great time. We always love being out in the community, having fun with the kids, and just it was an excellent afternoon. Of course, you know about the Civil Rights Breakfast because you're here. Tomorrow, starting at 11 a.m. at City Hall in the Curran Room, we will have a presentation on the Crown Act, which is sponsored by the Anna E. Casey Foundation. This will be a discussion on both the law and some of the lived experiences of the folks who have needed the Crown Act for so long, and it's finally here. Following that, at 1 p.m. at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, we will have a community forum on disabilities. We do invite folks to come and speak out about their experiences with accessibility in Baltimore and to share their perspectives. City agencies will also be in attendance, listening and talking a little bit about their accessibility work. Finally, at 6 p.m. In the Board of Estimates boardroom at City Hall. There will be an agency hearing on the fire department. Starting at 10 a.m. on Wednesday at Creative Alliance, we have our program Derechos Civiles y Equidad Racial en Baltimore, Construyendo una Comunidad Latina Fuerte, which means civil rights and racial equity in Baltimore, building a strong Latino community. The presentation will take place in Spanish, but there will be English translation available, so we do encourage you to come and attend that. Following that, we have the Equity Dashboard and Agency presentations at the Creative Alliance at 12 p.m. That is sponsored by the Baltimore Development Corps and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Guys, they worked really hard on this dashboard, and it's absolutely beautiful. It is a map of the city where you can see real-time equity efforts. The agencies are going to be there talking about their equity efforts. It is not to be missed. It is an excellent program. Coming up next, we have Wage Day, which will be sponsored by the Baltimore DC Metro Building Trades Coalition. Yes, we love our sponsor. Thank you, guys. That will be starting at 2 p.m. at Creative Alliance with recognizing, both the Civil Rights Equity Dashboard and Recognizing Human Trafficking will all be on Wednesday, November 2nd at the Creative Alliance. At 7 p.m. at the Reginald F. Lewis, there will be a community conversation on redlining, reparations, and racial equity in Baltimore, featuring a diverse panel of speakers that will be in conversation with one another, coming from clergy, academia, activism. It's going to be a very robust program. Finally, on November 3rd, Thursday, is our Police Accountability Day. At 11 a.m. at the University of Baltimore Law School, we will have presentations from the consent decree team giving their updates. Following that at 1 p.m., we will have an overview of our newest police accountability structure, the Police Accountability Board, and the Administrative Charging Committee. And then finally at 2:30 p.m., there will be a session on collateral consequences of police misconduct. Then that evening at 7 p.m., there will be a session on the urgent need to protect and advance civil rights for the LGBTQ+ community. That will be hosted at Reginald F. Lewis and led by Director London Smith DeRichelieu of the Mayor's Office of LGBTQ Affairs, and that will be sponsored by Carpenters Contract Trust. Then finally, our final day, Friday, November 4th, we'll be starting at 10 a.m. With an intimate conversation about maternal health with Miss Anna Rodney, who we're blessed to have with us in the room today. She is just an amazing voice in maternal health for women of Baltimore. So that's going to be a great conversation. That will be at Creative Alliance. It will be followed by lunch and a legal resource fair sponsored by Maryland Legal Aid, and then a Coping with Trauma workshop hosted by Dr. Tara Doherty of the Sage Wellness Group. Finally, we'll be closing out Civil Rights Week with a very fun party, cocktail hour and closeout celebration at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum at 7 p.m. Don't miss that. Come bring your sparkly shoes. We're going to have a good time. And that is Civil Rights Week. We hope to see you at these many events, and we are so, so grateful to have you here with us today. And with that, I am going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Director Dana Peterson-Moore.
But before we do that, I'm actually going to ask all the staff for this is the end of the program, everybody. We're going to ask the staff for the Civil Rights Office to come to the front. We have a quick little presentation for our director. Staff, if you could come to the front. Karen, if you can bring me my flowers.
As they're coming up, the best staff in the city of Baltimore, thank you very much. Best staff.
Director, we just want to thank you for your leadership. We put this together. This is the first time we've had Civil Rights Week in 3 years, y'all, since COVID started. And Director Moore has been a fearless leader. She's been leading our office and transforming the office, updating the office, getting our technology together, getting ourselves together at times. And so we just want to recognize you, Director Moore, and thank you for your hard work, and present you with these beautiful flowers.
I know you were behind this. No?
I can't take the credit.
We're going to take a quick picture and then you can post.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hugs and kisses. These are beautiful. I'm blocking. Tell me where to go. She's trying to paper in her hand. Am I okay? Okay, Selma. So we've been through it. This is a great staff, and we've had a hard time. I ask a lot. If you guys had a good time today, thank the staff. They've been tremendous. They told me last year they wanted to do Civil Rights 2021, and I was like, there's just no way. I don't see how we can do it. And then when they said, we're going to do Civil Rights Week 2022, I was like, okay, let's roll. And to a person, there is no one at the Office of Equity and Civil Rights that didn't step up and do more than they were asked to do. And the result is this. There are a lot of flowers on the table, and we had all these different ideas about how we would make sure that people got the flowers. We're going to just share our flowers through an equity lens. So what do I mean by that? Oh, there's a card here. Okay. If you feel like you really, really need flowers, they're yours. If you feel like you just want the flowers, you're going to be last. We're going to make sure people get what they need. So if you need the flowers, please take them. If you know someone else who's not in the room that you know needs the flowers because they need to be uplifted, make it feel better, take 2. Just be sure that you take the flowers because I think they're beautiful and they should not be left behind. With that, I just want to thank you for being here. The room has cleared just a little bit, maybe a lot, but it's been a great morning and you did us great honor by being here. You did us great honor by staying. I thank the sponsors, but I want to thank you, each and every one of you. We are looking to make partners and grow our work to that end, and they stayed till the bitter end. As a future partner, I want to say out loud, we want to partner with National Pi Delta Kappa Gamma Chapter. Yes, we've met, now we're connected, we're bonded, we will be reaching out to do that work. Other people have given me their cards. We want to work with you. Civil Rights Week 2023, we're already planning it. It'll be in October 2023. And we want all of you to celebrate Civil Rights Week with us, but also wherever you happen to be. The Pratt Library is doing that already. They have a Civil Rights DEI Week planned for Tuesday and Wednesday, so they get it. We want to spread the word about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and make it happen all across the city. Thank you again for being here. I want to bring up Reverend Todd Urey, the amazing Reverend Todd Urey, to do our benediction and close us out. Thank you.
To all of you who have been here, thank you for your presence. To the wait and service staff, thank you for your kindness. For those of you who have blessed us with your presence, we appreciate it. I would simply say as we get ready to go forth is let's not confuse Civil Rights Week, W-E-E-K, to be the universe of civil rights work, W-O-R-K. It is the process where we have a time of sharing that we might be inspired to continue the important work. And I would simply just encourage you when you get some time is to go back and listen to the oral arguments in the University of North Carolina case today. There are some troubling statements that have been rendered from the bench that reminds me, being born in the civil rights era of the 60s, why this work is so critically important. When a justice on the United States Supreme Court begins the questioning with this statement, "I have heard the word diversity used several times, but I don't have a clue of what it means." If that is now in the public record, from one who is amongst the nine determining what the law is, we who are affected by what the law is must ensure that we not limit our efforts to a week. We must continue to work. With that in mind, as you do the work, may the wisdom of that which is divine, a sense of the needs of others, a thirst for justice and rightness, a confidence in the good work that we would do together, the harmony that comes when we combine our commitment to good methods without questioning motives. May we find peace that comes in the reward of doing good work that brings dreams to all and makes charm back in style. May you have a great day. Go in peace. We look forward to seeing you soon.